At the beginning of World War II, there's a large U.S. military presence in the Philippine Islands in the Pacific Ocean. The Philippines have been a United States possession since the Spanish-American War of 1898. There's a large number of nurses to go along with all the American service members that are there. This uniform right here beside me belongs to one of those nurses, Evelyn Whitlow of Caswell County, North Carolina. She comes from a family of 12 children. Of those 12, 6 of them will wear the uniform during World War II. She's the first one out of her family to enlist. She will join the United States Army in May of 1940. She goes overseas shortly before the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. Several hours after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, they attacked the Philippines. The United States commander in the Philippines, Douglas MacArthur, really has no way of fighting back. He loses his Air Force in the first opening rounds of the Japanese attacks. From there, it's really a waiting game. In order to play this waiting game, MacArthur withdraws into defensive positions outside the capital city of Manila, on the Bataan Peninsula and the island of Corregidor. Among the nurses who are there, again, is Lieutenant Whitlow. Once it becomes apparent that it's just a matter of time until the Japanese capture MacArthur's army, MacArthur is ordered to Australia to organize an Allied counteroffensive against the Japanese. He also begins evacuating his nurses. One of those who's attempted to be evacuated is Lieutenant Whitlow. However, she does not make it out of the Philippines. The plane that she is on crashes in the island of Mindanao in the southern Philippines. She and her colleagues, about 20 of them, will wind up staying there on Mindanao. They are there when the Japanese capture the islands, and as a result, she and her colleagues are captured. They will endure much the same horrors of Japanese captivity that the rest of MacArthur's army endured. They do not go on the Bataan Death March, thankfully. However, they wind up being interned for the next 3 years just as well, in conditions that were just as horrid as the rest of the army in the Philippines experienced. Whitlow herself comes down with malaria. She's very ill for the first several weeks of her confinement. She and her colleagues are kept at Santo Tomas University in Manila, a former college. She's there in early February 1945 when elements of the 1st Cavalry Division literally break down the doors of Santo Tomas and liberate the captives. She had been there with her fellow nurses, with American civilians, with civilians from other countries who had been in the Philippines. This was really the first contact they had with the outside world. Her family, for years, did not know what had become of her. They learned finally in late 1944 that she is alive. For 2 years, they had no idea what had become of her. After the war is over, she winds up marrying one of the other captives from Santo Tomas. She would live out the rest of her years in California. She loved to speak about this particular part of her life. She and several of her colleagues said that the one thing that got them through their captivity was that their commanding officer insisted that they remain nurses. They could not become prisoners. They had to continue to perform their medical duties throughout their captivity. And that is what got them through that very trying time in their life.